Hi, I am S. Pansari and I'm from his Logics. Today it's another week for another modeling tip, which is modeling tip 5. This one is about the naming convention of the artifacts within the model. So let's get started with the naming convention of your lists. Um, there are two different types of lists within your model. One is the general list, another could be your numbered list. So what is the good naming convention for your general list? Always start or prefix your general list with the hierarchy they belong to, and give it a number. So basically, the alphanumeric abbreviation mm, sort of letters or characters as well at the beginning of your general list. Meaning, let's take an example. If I've got the product hierarchy here. So what I've done is I've taken P as as an initial for my product hierarchy, and used 0 as the top level, and then I've gone from P0 to P2, which is P0, then P1, then P2, and this is also the P2, right? And they fall under the product hierarchy. So I have also placed them into this dummy category or dummy separator of the lists, and I've used these kind of arrow down keys, or you could use any emoji, but only in these categories. Do not use emojis in the lists. Do not use emojis in any artifact that is being used in your planning, or that is being used by Anaplan. Only use emojis if you have to in these separator lists or modules. So this is the naming convention that is recommended for your general list. Now, when it comes to numbered list, the numbering of your the numbering stays same. So there's no difference between general list and numbered list when it comes to prefixing the numbers. The only highlight here is that you will have to suffix that numbered list with the pound or the hash key, as we say. So if you have to take a look at this one, you will straight away get to know that that P2DSQ is a numbered list, and these one are general lists. So these ones are not numbered lists. Only this one and probably weeks is the numbered list, right? So that's how you can sort of name your lists, whether that be general list or numbered list. Let's go to the about the naming convention of your subset. Now this one is tricky. So let's take an example. I've created an example here in the transactional accounts. So the naming convention of the subsets in this case is I have created two different subsets here for this list. Now, I have also rearranged the naming convention of my subset. So what I have done here in these two examples is, in the first example, in the first subset, what I've done is I have used double S, which is short form for subsets, as S subsets, without any space given being given between SS words or letters and the transaction account list. So in this first subset, what I've done is I've taken the name of the list first, then used the colon, and then the subset. In the second one, I've used the SS, the name of the subset first, and then the name of the list. What I feel, that's my personal experience. What I feel is that this one is sort of more flexible, or it helps in more in kind of auditing the model. For example, if the name of your list is too long, let's say for example I've intentionally made it too long, so transaction accounts, the name of the list, um, then when you look at the grid view, let's say if you look at the grid view, so you are not going to tell from this account which subset, or from this column which subset is this one, because the entire space of this column is being taken away by the name of the list, which you already know that this was the name of the list. So that is why my approach is that I write I write the name of the subset first, followed by the name of the list. So this should be this or this. So that's your take, but it should always start with the words double S or single S or any initial that you can think of, but stay consistent with that, or LS, it could be anything, but stay consistent with that. Whatever you choose, stay consistent with that. And another advantage of you picking this way and not this way is that when you start creating modules, let's say, let's go to the module, start creating module, and you will see that, again, you do not get to kind of get to see the entire subset, name of the subset yet. You will have to drag it first and see what is the name, and then, you know and then get to include them in the module. Here in this way, you straight away get to know what is the name of the subset, right? So that's another helpful feature that I've or helpful, that's my experience, the way it has been helpful to me. That's my experience. But I still use the name of the list as well as the name of the subset, right? And use those initials for the naming convention of the subset. So that's about subsets. Now let's go back to the modules and talk about the naming convention for modules. Now we all understand that modules had to be named as per DISCO methodology, but that does not mean you will have to use that input system calculate output as is. You can split those terminologies within when it comes to the naming convention of your modules. For example, I prefer writing DAT for all the data modules, and INP for INP for my input modules, and sys for my system modules. I When it comes to calc and output modules, I split them in terms of functional areas. So for example, if my functional area is, let's say, executive, here I might call it as, it could be calc, or here I've called it as rep, which is reporting. Or here in this case it's exports, I'm calling it as exp. But it does not necessarily have to be this way. So I always believe that the first three letters, which is data input system, I always stay with this order: data input and system, which is DAT, INP, and sys. But when it comes to CLC and output modules, I name them as per the functional area, whatever the functional area is, so that it makes sense to split them, or to rearrange them, or to categorize or group them in certain categories. So calc and output modules are more of a output or the functional business related modules, so that I make them a business specific. But these first three are not, most of the times they're not being published onto the at least data and system are not being published onto the dashboards, or end users do not interact with these type of modules directly. So I usually prefer keeping dat input and system as is, and then calc and output can be changed the way business wants it, or the way functional areas are set up. I also do not recommend using the letters in the sequential order, meaning I don't want that SKU to be called as dat01 SKU, and this dat cost center is called with dat02, and this 03 and 04 and 05. The reason for that is, all of a sudden, if you have to delete a module in the middle of this grouping, then your sequencing becomes wrong. So you say that 1 is there, 2 is not there, and then it goes 3, 4, and 5 is not there. So the sequencing, it kind of messes up the entire structure of your module. So I'd say, if you have to use the numbers in here, just say that 00 for SKU, and if there is any data for SKU related activities, just call it DAT00 again. So categorize those numbering as well. So it doesn't have to be sequential in manner, meaning 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. It could be 0, 0, and then the next number could be 10. That could be related to some other different functional area, right? So I would recommend using that kind of naming convention, and or the numbering in the naming convention, not in the sequential in number. Sequential plays, it creates havoc when we start doing optimization and we delete some of the modules. Then it creates havoc in ordering, right? So that's a naming convention of modules. Similarly, the saved waves. When we talk about the saved waves, please do not include the name of the module in the saved wave. For example, if I have to create a if I open this module and if I have to, let's say, as an example, I am using, let's say, this is not the right way of creating a saved view, but just an example demonstration purposes. Let's say I'm going to create this saved view. What I'm going to do is I know this will be used as an import. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use imp, or you could write exp export as well, import to, let's say, um, sales force, right? Or you can use import or export, probably in better, this is export. So the idea, that the intention, or the point that I'm trying to make here is that, have this abbreviation consistent. What is the management, what is that management doing, right? And where is it going? So that kind of helps a lot in auditing the model. And it saves a lot. It saves a huge amount of time for the auditors who are doing the audit within the model, whether that, or for the model builders who are doing the model optimization, right? Do not use, again, do not use the name of the module within the save. So you don't have to say exp datsq to sales for something like that. You don't have to do that. So keep it clean, so that it is and consistent across all of the modules, right? So that is the naming convention for saved waves. Now let's go to the naming convention for actions. If you look at this one, I've created a process which is updating the cost center. So what I've done is, again, I've taken the initials, CC, which is cost centers, and used the colon, and then I've written the short description, update cost centers. In this process, there are two different import actions that are being used within the same process. So in this case, what I have done is I want this action to run first, followed by this one. So what I've done is I've used the same initial, which is CC, but I've also used the naming sequencing in this case. So CC1, CC2. So that means, for an outsider, he will straight away get to know, hey, this is my process, and one and two are the different import actions within the process, and one is supposed to run before two. Hence, the sequencing of the numbers within the process. So the naming convention within the process is, or the imports is that, especially in imports, is that you will have to use the sort of, again, alphanumeric characters at the, especially, and recommendation is that you prefix it, because it looks clean. If you suffix it, then it doesn't look that clean. Prefixing the import action with these alphanumeric characters, it looks very clean, and it helps in auditing the model very swiftly, right? You may also want to consider including your source and target within the import action, although it is not necessarily. But if you the target is always in being shown in this column, so import in the target module or something like that, right? So you don't want to say, hey, SKU details into that SKU from this. So all you need to say is, hey, load SKU details. Like, for example, in CC2, you say load SKU details from forecasting system. You know that it's being imported into that SKU. The only thing that you need to demonstrate or show it to the model builder is that it's coming from this system, or coming from XYZ module or model, right? So this is a first glance for a model builder, and he immediately gets to know where it is coming from, and then he can go to imports and import data sources. But first glance is this one, right? So that's how you can think of creating your naming convention for your processes. But whatever you do, whatever naming convention, whatever alphanumeric characters you pick, just make sure that you are consistent. So if I pick 2-digit here, CC cost centers, the next process, again, you pick 2 digits, and then whatever is you think are relevant to your model, or your functional areas, or your business requirements, pick those characters, and then use the numbers as well. Last but not the least, let's talk about the naming convention for the line item subsets. So if you talk about the line item subsets, created one line item subset, and I've prefixed with the word or the letters LISS. You can also use LIS or whatever you feel like, but recommendation is you keep LIS or LISS and then colon and the name of the module that it is coming from. So my line item subset is coming from rep PNL, so I've named it as LISS colon and then rep PNL. But let's say if it is coming from multiple modules, you can say you can write multi LISS or MLISS and colon and then whatever, then you cannot write on the name of all modules followed by colon. What you can do is you can simply say whatever the functional area they're coming from, if they belong to this common functional area, or you could pick the module where the maximum number of line items are coming from. So anything is fine after that, but make sure that you prefix the line item subset with LISS or multi LISS or MLISS, right? So that's about the naming convention of the line item subsets. Hope that helps. Thank you.